in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. I am the original Rebelpreneur, but I am not the only one. There are others like me out there, and you're interested in trying to build your business while you live your life and get maximum pleasure and enjoyment and happiness out of both. So today's guest is going to help us dig into the spiritual side of your business and how to have the right heart to approach your business. Actually, he's the founder of Heart of Business. He's Mark Silver. He has a Master's of Divinity. He's a fourth-generation entrepreneur, and he is an acknowledged master teacher in Sufi spiritual lineage. He's spent nearly 2 decades integrating profound spiritual teachings with the nitty-gritty of building a business that works and feels great to your heart. He is the head of the team at Heart of Business, and they have worked with thousands of solo and small businesses since 2001. Mark, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you. I'm really delighted to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, I noticed on your website, heartofbusiness.com, interesting factoid. It says you've been working in this area for 17 years, and you have worked with 4,000 business clients.
Yes. As a team, Heart of Business has worked with that many people. We provide training and consulting and coaching, and yes, we've been blessed with having, a lot of people give their trust to us and invite their friends and colleagues to join us. So it's been a blessing, and it's been something that I feel deeply grateful for.
That's a really incredible statistic, and it really speaks to the impact of what you're doing and doing it in a big way. So you've learned quite a few distinctions over the years to help your clients get to where they want to be in their life and in their business. But I want to, before we get into the business side of things, I want to dig down into your background. It says that you are a master teacher in Sufi spiritual lineage. Tell us and introduce us to what that means.
Yeah, I know it's not so mainstream, so to speak.
Yeah.
So Sufism, I don't know if you're familiar with the poet Hafiz or the poet Rumi. They get quoted a lot. Those are Sufi
Persian?
Poets. Yeah, they're Persian.
Okay.
And they are Sufi poets. And Sufism is the mystical side of Islam. And so there is a long history of a group of Sufis for centuries really learning about how do we carry a full heart in the world? How do we engage with the everyday things in the world around us coming from love, and still being really present. Like, it's not a spiritual practice that is intended to kind of remove us into a different place. It's meant to, like, how can we find the divine? How can we find the love? How can we find God right here? In marketing, in the business world, in whatever it is that we're working on. And that's the tradition and the lineage that I've been trained in, and is what I follow.
Very, very good. So, and I've heard different people, I've been exposed to different people where they will talk about the spiritual side of selling or the spiritual side of their business or mindfulness. But I don't think I've ever heard them talk about things from a Sufi standpoint. What would be some some distinctions or some things that makes this unique from just your ordinary mindfulness or other kind of spiritual or new age approaches that are out there now with respect to business?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that I should probably say is that all spiritual paths, I think that people have found effective, that have been proven through the test of time and through practice, are all basically following the same principles and the same reality. They just use different metaphors and have different ways of approaching it. So it's, the approach that Sufism emphasizes is the approach of surrender. I think a lot of times there is this desire in our modern world to fake it till you make it, or to kind of be as big and be the most big, powerful you can be, and you can do it, and all of this. And Sufism is more about humility, about being of service, about caring for people, and really just showing up and doing your best for people from your heart. And when things look hard or look challenging, then we have ways, and I don't mean this in a glib way, but what we're looking for is is love available even here? Is there a way that we can do this? And one of the insights that I've had in kind of integrating the spiritual work with business is that if I find a business practice and I cannot find a spiritual teaching that supports it, and there's something about that business teaching that doesn't feel right, that feels like it's out of integrity, we don't do it. We advise against it. I wrote a guide called Don't Buy Now, which highlights some of the most manipulative sales tactics particularly in the business coaching industry, and helping people avoid getting caught up in those kinds of, hard sell manipulations that are just out of integrity, and there's no reason to be doing them.
Very good. And I think that is so needed today, and it's probably something that a lot of people have experienced, and it doesn't feel good. It's like it's manipulative. The persuasion tactics that people try to use, they don't like them. They don't like the marketing and the advertising that they are experiencing. They don't like being pitched to and being sold to. But then it's interesting when they go out to try and sell their own products and services, they often adopt some of the same things that they don't like.
It's so true, because they don't have a model for how else to do it. They're like, oh, this is how you have to do it. And this is one of the things that we really try to help people with, because a lot of people that are self-employed, that have micro businesses, have something they deeply care about in the world. I'm thinking of clients of ours that, are acupuncturists, or they're, coaches or consultants, or they're, even accountants and bookkeepers, or, people that have different kinds of services that they bring, organic gardeners and landscapers. They really are trying to do their best. They're trying to make the world a better place in some significant, it may not be a huge thing because they're solo people. It's not like it's having a global impact, but it's significant for them and for the people they're helping. And for the business to be out of integrity with the beauty of the work that they're doing in the world is not okay. And it's not okay with them, and it's not okay with me. And it certainly doesn't actually help the business, because most of these manipulative sales tactics work in a psychological way, and they work in quotes in that somebody, money gets exchanged and somebody gets paid. But it doesn't help with repeat clients. It doesn't help with referrals. It doesn't help with, avoiding really bad internet reviews that come up when people search for your business, and you've got a chain of people that are upset because they got cheated out of money. It's like you get it.
Yeah. So you are all about helping us to connect with basically what you're saying is some values and serving people on a level that's more about the value that you're able to bring to them as opposed to what you're able to get out of them.
Right. We've heard this before. This is not brand new territory. Thank God, thank God I'm not the only one. Oh, look what I found, integrity. It's like, I'm glad there's a lot of people out there, trying to do this. We have a particular way that we do it that the people who love us, really connect with, because we help people remember the love in their hearts. I got off a call right before this interview with you, where I was leading people in what we call the remembrance, which is just a way of remembering that life is much larger than just the physical around us, and helping them connect with qualities in their heart like strength and peace and protection and love. And even gentleness and humility, really important in business, surprisingly important in business. And then moving from there into what we call compassionate accountability. And when we say compassionate accountability, like, life is not a linear line. We don't just go from A to B. Like anybody who's lived more than 5 minutes knows that life is a curving path, and you can't just relentlessly go after a goal. You have to be able to make space, especially if you're a parent, or you have, aging parents, or you have, God forbid you have something else going on in your life besides just your business. And you have to account for all of these things. And so compassionate accountability helps keep our clients focused on developing their business week after week, step after step, but without beating themselves up, without feeling like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person, I'm quote unquote falling behind. And you got to have room for life, but you also have to stay focused on what the business needs in order to be healthy from a place of love and integrity.
Perfect. And that really fits into the Rebelpreneur mindset. It's the idea that we're not just in a business just for the fun of it, but we want to create the business we need so we can live the life we want. And it's integrating these things together. So you wouldn't go into your business and do something that you're ashamed of, and then try to use that to create the life that you want, because your life is your business, especially if you're a micropreneur or a solopreneur or a rebelpreneur or a sole proprietor. That is your business and your life are really integrated together. And so integrity, compassion, accountability, the things that you're talking about are important values. You just can't go out there and separate and divorce yourself from these universal principles.
Right.
Now, one thing that you have mentioned that I want to dig into and really get your thoughts on, and it's something that you mentioned to me that's very intriguing. And you said that most business owners can safely ignore 90% of what they think that they have to do. And I thought, wow, if that's true, if we can safely ignore 90% of what we think we have to do, how much more productive are we going to be? And so you talk about that happening in 4 stages of business development. And so give us a roadmap. What does that look like, and what are those 4 stages?
Yeah. See, this is the critical piece, right? It's like, people talk about priorities and, focusing in on what's important. And we talk about it gets talked about stop doing lists and letting things go so that you can focus on what's important. But how do you know what those things are, especially in early stages of development when there's like the to-do list is huge, there's so much to get done. Well, one of the insights that I've had, like after working with so many different businesses over the years and seeing people because I didn't have this down in the beginning. Like we were trying, I was like, okay, do we do this first? Do we do that first? People need this. People need, it's like, and I was stuck in this place of like wanting to download, basically 2 years of learning in an afternoon, and you can't do that. It's like you can't do that, period. And if you try it, you just overwhelm people, and They're like, oh God, it's like I, went to an all-you-can-eat buffet and wasn't really paying attention, and I just hurt myself. I think it doesn't work. So what I observed was that there are stages of development, and we have kids. We've got twin boys who are about to turn 10 in a couple weeks, and I know, right? And one of the things that we've learned over the years is that kids naturally thrive if you give them what they need and you don't try to push them faster than they need to go, right? I had one of my sons just taught himself to read. He just taught himself to read. It's like I didn't have to teach him to read. He just taught himself to read. It was amazing to watch. Another one, it's like they learn things, but they're going to be 10. Like, I'm not going to expect them to be paying the rent. I'm not going to give them the keys to the car. They're not developmentally able to drive the car, but they can, reading and other things, math, and, there's places. And so with a business, a lot of times people think, what's wrong with this business? Why won't it go faster? Or I've got to get all these things in place. And if we just realize that it takes time to build a business. The internet has our heads wound around like everything happens now. But the truth is,
you make $1 million in 30 minutes,
Exactly. It's like we have observed that the absolute fastest in ideal circumstances, which nobody has, is maybe 18 months to 2 years to take a solo business from complete startup to what we call the third stage momentum, where the business is, reliable and like paying its way, paying you, and not necessarily rich, just like it's dependable,
right.
And you can like, oh yeah, it's like a professional level income has been replaced by the business. Yeah. More likely 3 to 4 years. And so when you think about it, it's like, okay, if it's going to take that much time, which it just does, and that causes some people panic around that, but for most people, they go feel a sense of relief, like, oh my God, I don't have to get it done yesterday, or there's nothing wrong with me that it's taking time, because it takes everybody time. The exceptions prove the rule. But anyway, there are 4 stages, 3 of which are necessary, and the 4th one is optional. So that we start with creation. And creation basically has to do with the very basic level of, who are you serving? How do you say what you do so that you're not boring people or scaring them off? How do you, can you craft an offer that people actually want to buy? Can you price it in a way that, you're not stuttering over the price because you're freaked out or overwhelmed or whatever? And can you hold it, an enrollment, a sales conversation, again, without, scaring people off or being ineffective, and also without manipulation? And then can you ask for referrals? If you effectively, like, those pieces are like the first stage. You get those pieces in place, and then you're not necessarily like making a living, but you have gotten to the point where the business can bring in more than coffee money. Like, it becomes significant. It's been tested in the marketplace. The business can actually work. You get to the second stage, and the second stage is called concentration. And it's about really making those pieces work. You start to put your marketing pieces in place, and you have a more comprehensive marketing message. You have a website. Maybe you have content that's going out. You know how to do what we call the 3 stages, the 3 journeys of marketing. And it starts to work. Like, marketing starts to work. It's called expanding your reach and building your audience and the people you're trying to reach. And then what almost always happens in the second stage is what people know as feast or famine. And this happens because the marketing works. Clients are coming in. you're working with the clients, you get overwhelmed, you stop marketing, your clients peter out, and complete in a natural way. And then you have to get the marketing going again, but it takes time because it's not like turning on a faucet because these are people you're in a relationship with.
Yeah, you've almost become a victim of your own success.
Exactly.
Because the more successful you are at solving problems, the faster you turn over clients.
Exactly. And so it becomes challenging. And so there's that feast or famine that happens in the second stage. And so the third stage is really about having like the next stage of your business model. It's having systems in place. It's maybe getting some help, not necessarily a payroll. It's not, people aren't necessarily, sometimes, but not always. But having help with different things so that all the business can continue running dependably, even when you get busy. And then that's when it starts to become momentum. And you can ignore momentum level priorities when you are in creation. When you are in concentration, the perfectionist in you may be wanting to fix the things in creation that didn't feel absolutely perfect, but as long as they're working, you ignore them. You can come back later and clean them up. You focus on one aspect of the stage that you're in at the time and put them in place. And step by step by step by step, the business runs easier and easier and easier. The fourth stage is what we call independence. And it's really about moving from being like a sole practitioner level into having other people in the business who do what you do and having a team and a payroll and something. It's a larger thing, and it requires an entirely different set of skills. You're becoming a CEO instead of a practitioner. And it's not necessary. If somebody comes to me saying, this is what I want to do, I always push them and say, are you sure? Let's find out if you're really sure. Because most people just want a third stage business that operates easier and more profitably. They don't really want to be CEO, but they think they need to in order to, achieve what they want.
Yeah.
So that's the brief, relatively brief outline of the stages.
Very neat. And so that kind of gives us some milestones and some objectives that are based in reality, and it's one on top of another. And it's not this impossible thing that with 6 months of business coaching, you're going to be making a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure income.
God, it breaks my heart when people get promised that or think that's true. It's like people quit. It's like, it's funny to think about, but it's also like people have come to us having spent thousands of dollars and quit their job, trying to make it work with that exact model. And at the end of 6 months, they've burnt themselves out. They're exhausted. They don't have reliable, duplicatable things in their business. They tried to follow a template that didn't really match their personality. They were just following some kind of paint by number scheme instead of really finding something that fit themselves. And they don't have much to show for it. And it's heartbreaking because people end up not being able to follow through. Some people have just had to give up their business, at least temporarily, and just recover from that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we can map this out in advance, and we can ignore 90% of what we think we have to do just by doing the things that we should be doing in the right order at the right time. Right. And not try for this instant gratification that we're going to go from 0 to 800 miles an hour in 3 days. It's not practical. It's not going to help.
That's exactly right.
Now, when we were talking just then, you mentioned something about the 3 journeys of marketing. Tell us more about that, and how do we find out about that?
Yes. So, and I should mention that the stages that we went through very quickly, if you go to our website, we offer a free assessment, and we give you a personal, I give you a personal reply if you do it. It's a shortish video, 15 minutes. You assess your business because a lot of solo businesses are kind of all over the map. And, a little bit from this, a little bit from that. Anyway, if you go to our free stuff page, people will see it, just because I don't want to leave people hanging going, oh my God, that's the model. And I'm like, how do you do it? Anyway, it's free, and yeah, check it out. So the journeys of marketing. So people, a lot of people say marketing is relationship building, marketing is this, marketing is that, but they don't. It's rare that I see it broken down into an understanding that there's different levels of intimacy in marketing. So, for instance, if I just meet somebody or I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I'm going to be with them differently than somebody that I know really well. Mm-hmm. It's just being polite. It's just being aware of what a healthy relationship is. And so the 3 journeys of marketing have to do with what we call the first journey, which is when you meet somebody for the first time. And that's what a lot of people think of as marketing, going out there and advertising or pushing or announcing, mm-hmm. or, it's like getting in front of new people. Mm-hmm. But then there's a second journey of marketing, which is when you are in communication with people who already know about you and either weren't ready to buy yet, or they might be ready to buy again. And, this is one of the most misunderstood things in business is how long it takes someone to come to a significant purchasing decision. It just takes time. And if it's a significant purchasing decision, it might take them months. I've had people, be in relationship with Heart of Business, maybe our blog or Facebook or through our email list. And after 3 or 4 years, they're like, you know what? I'm ready now. I'm like, okay, great. And, they were finally ready. Their kids are no longer 0. They're now, 4, and they're going to daycare, or, whatever it is that it happened for them that changed. And so so you want that. And then the third journey of marketing is what is commonly called referral marketing, which is when somebody is a raving fan, and or they're maybe in your network and they're a colleague or somebody who might not be a client, but they could still be a referral source and they trust you enough. And those are people who then send referrals to you. And you can see that each of these journeys requires a different kind of communication, a different level of intimacy, a different kind of, message, if you will. And I don't mean that in the packaged sense. I just mean in terms of, what your heart is saying to them, what you're wanting to tell them or ask of them.
That really resonates because when I coach different marketing clients, I describe it to them as a lot of people approach marketing and sales kind of like going out on a date for the first time, mm-hmm. and they say, nice to meet you. Would you like to get married?
Right. Yes, exactly.
There's got to be a process of relationship building in between nice to meet you and will you marry me? I mean, you just can't go for that. That might be your ultimate outcome, but you can't do that right off the bat. There's got to be a process there. So you call it marketing intimacy. I think that's a really great way of describing this. And it also recognizes that people are attracted and they become attractive for different reasons, and they're at different stages. Mm-hmm. And if we look at it in terms of intimacy and relationship, it's very different from how marketing is typically taught. Yes, I think so. And it's just, it's so important. And the other piece about marketing is that, you use the word attraction, and I use the word attraction, we fall into that language. Yeah. But marketing really isn't about attraction. And this is kind of a deep thing, but love, like attraction is the province of love. Mm-hmm. And, people sometimes think of romantic love, but there's all kinds of love. I love my friends and I love my kids and I love the land that I live on. Like love is what pulls us. And when our hearts are full of love for being of service and for caring for people and helping them, like that is what the attraction is. But people, because of various experiences in our lives, tend to be really scared of love.
You know, we wonder, like, is this person going to break my heart? You know, are they an axe murderer? Which, you know, it's like, you know, like, is there, you know, is something, you know, is this really true?
Yeah. Or they made all of these promises and claims in their marketing. Are they actually going to deliver on what they promised?
Right. And so marketing is not about attraction. Love is the attraction. Marketing is about safety. Marketing is about helping people feel safe enough so that they can decide for themselves whether the attraction that they feel is true.
Excellent.
And a lot of people that we work with take a big sigh of relief when they realize, oh, I don't have to be trying to attract people in. I just need to love and care for them. And then my marketing, my messaging, whatever I'm doing is just trying to help people feel safe so that they can stick around long enough to figure out for themselves.
Perfect. Well, I like that. That's a super distinction, and it really gets into the heart of who you are and what you do at heartofbusiness.com. So I encourage my listeners to go and check it out, heartofbusiness.com. And at the top of that webpage, you'll see some cool links, and in there you'll see a link that says free stuff. And that's where you should go get these resources that Mark Silver is talking about. Mark, it's been a real pleasure to connect with you. Mark Silver is a Master of Divinity and he is a fourth generation entrepreneur. 4,000 clients in 17 years. The man knows what he's talking about, and he's seen it. He's been there. He's done that. So I would pay attention to him. Heartofbusiness.com. Mark, any final words of wisdom? Everything's been so wise and so helpful and motivational, but any final thoughts that you want to leave us with as we wrap up?
I guess I just want to reemphasize that we don't have to be inflated to be successful in business. You know, that's the model that's shown to us. But, you know, the human heart just wants to serve. We just want to help each other. We just want to help make the world more wonderful for each other. And that's a lot of what our businesses are about. And yes, you need to make a living. And yes, it's okay to get paid for that because people like to acknowledge that they've been helped. But there's no need to feel like you have to be someone you're not. You can be humble. You can be in service. You can care deeply. You can trust people, and you can still be effective in business.
Excellent. Words of wisdom from Mark Silver. Again, check him out at heartofbusiness.com to find out more about his coaching and his products and services to help you become a more spiritual and successful person in business and in life. Mark, thanks so much for being on Rebelpreneur Radio today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at ralphbrogden.com.